Hey everyone, it's Katie and Elisha from NowThatWe'reAFamily.com, and today we're going to be sharing with you about one of our most recent experiments, and that is doing away with all internet at our house for about 5 weeks. And there were some pros, there were some cons, there were some wins, and there were some losses, and ultimately we got internet back, and we're going to share with you why, and we're going to share with you lessons learned about this experience, and if you're interested in doing it yourself, some things to be looking out for.
So if you guys have followed our channel for any amount of time, then you know at this point that we already don't have smartphones. That was a decision that we made a couple years ago now. It's incredibly just like freed up our lives, made us way more efficient, way more productive. And there were hangups along the way. We had to learn how to do things in different ways because the smartphone was just so efficient and so easy, user-friendly. But we were sitting there looking at each other after we had our 5th baby. And postpartum is typically a season where consumption for us goes up because we're just sitting around a lot, and we were like, you know what, let's try to get rid of our internet and maybe we will experience that same freedom and lightness that we did when we got rid of our phones. So this meant that at our house we would have 0 Wi-Fi, internet, data, like it's like Little House on the Prairie status in the house. No contact with the outside world. I thought about like subscribing, what do you say, to a newspaper?
Yeah, that would have been fun. Would have been really fitting. And the reason we were excited to try this is because, as Katie already mentioned, we have loved not having smartphones in our life. And we'll link that video below so you can hear more about what we do instead of having smartphones and how we do life without them. But we viewed and really still view getting rid of our smartphones as being an offensive move, not a defensive move. We didn't do it because we just wanted to remove ourselves from the world and unplug and stick our head in the sand and not be aware of what's going on. We realized that we are far more effective in the world when we got rid of our smartphones. We create far more content. We read a lot more. We write a lot more. Again, we make more videos. And so it was a very offensive move. And then not to mention, you know, we're with our kids and we're present with our children so much more. And we're with real people in our community interacting on a far more regular basis. So we were hoping that getting rid of the internet would have the same effect. That would be this offensive move rather than a defensive where we're just kind of retracting and playing defense. We wanted to be more aggressive in what we're learning and what we're pursuing and the content that we're creating. So that was the mission behind it. That was the vision. It didn't necessarily live up to those expectations.
Yeah, so essentially we found ourselves, we were consuming a lot in the evenings, sitting around a lot. I think that was definitely leading to a healthy feeling of hypocrisy because we're screen-free in our home in terms of family time. Like we don't have screen time during the day. And so then we are looking at each other going, we put the kids to bed, and immediately we're popping onto our computers. I'm sitting in bed nursing, Elisha's doing his thing. And we're like, that's not what we want. We don't want our kids to wake up and come out and go to the bathroom and are like, what? As soon as daddy and mama put us to bed, they're on their computers. This is messed up. So that was another reason why we wanted to get rid of our internet. And a third reason was, for me, I had gotten into the bad habit of playing something like multitasking, I should say, where essentially I was playing something in our home constantly. So I play podcasts on my computer since we don't have the smartphone. And while I was making meals, while I was cleaning up, while I was doing laundry, while I was doing all this stuff, I was just listening to stuff all the time. And then the kids were interrupting me while I was trying to listen to this thing. And I thought I needed to listen to this thing to make the task more enjoyable. And I kind of forgot that I used to do stuff without listening to something while I was doing it. And I could just enjoy the task for its own sake. And so I really wanted to get away from that distraction. Oh, and I thought of one more thing.
Let's hear it.
While I'm going,
Oh, yeah.
while I'm going, I got, more leads to more. So like more consumption leads to more consumption, leads to more consumption. You're just never satisfied the more you're consuming online, at least in my experience. And so with all of this consumption, it led to me just checking analytics and our comments and like the business side of things a lot. And I'm not super involved in helping those things change. So all I was doing was checking on them. And that was making me just like not stoked. I mean, how many times can you check a needle and see if it's moving or not?
Yeah, I mean, that's just a known truth that if you're running any type of business and you just stare at the analytics, you stare at the bottom line, it can become discouraging. And you're like, that's not the best. The best thing to do to move the bottom line isn't stare at it. It's to go out and take action. And I think we both felt ourselves in that position. And like Katie said, there was this level of healthy hypocrisy that we were feeling in our own hearts because we were remaining screen-free throughout the day when the kids were awake and during family hours. And then it was getting kind of embarrassing where it's like the kids would go to bed and both of us would just like flip open our computer and sit on the couch or lay down, be like, finally. And we would start consuming. And like also what Katie said, you've probably experienced being able to multitask when you're cooking, or I like to do it when I'm working out, be able to listen to something while you're doing something else. And that is so helpful until kids are a part of the equation. And then it becomes big time counterproductive. And then you're blaming, the kids are coming in, they're interrupting a podcast and you're blaming them. It's like, come on, it's not their fault. They just got up from their naps. Or I do my workouts in the morning, and a lot of times before I'm done, the kids will come out to the garage and just watch me work out. Well, I would be trying to finish up whatever I was listening to while I'm working out, and they're talking to me, and I'm saying, "Hey, quiet," like I'm trying to finish this up, and I was starting to feel bad about that, rightfully so. I was like, "How lame is that?" Our kids feel like they can't, just come have a conversation with us when we're cooking or when I'm working out or when we're doing anything in the garage. So I think that was healthy conviction, and we can probably get into kind of the pros and the cons of having no internet.
Yeah, so at first, well, maybe I should tell you real quick how it was. There were some withdrawals for the first
Yes.
2 to 3 days in a healthy way. And we knew we were detoxing.
That was bizarre.
Yeah.
It was truly, they were like physiological withdrawals. And that, in those first few days, sorry, I know I cut you off.
No,
but in those first few days, we were like, we have to get rid of the internet because of how we were feeling.
How hard it was to do.
Exactly. Because of how hard it was, we were both like, well, now we know we can't get it back because this is crazy how dependent we were on it.
Yeah, we had that conversation after the first week of not having internet. And Elisha had it here at the studio, so he was still doing work and stuff like that, but he didn't have it in the evenings, and then I didn't have it all day. And for the first, few days, it was like, okay, everything in us wants to get this, so we know we're on the right track. Because this is what happened with our smartphones, is immediately, it's like you're reaching for something and you're just grasping for air. Like you go to, drive somewhere and you don't have the directions.
Yes.
Or you're trying to email someone or like send a text or a photo or an attachment, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, do I have to upload this to my computer now to send it? Like, take a photo of your kids. Like everything was just like hard in the beginning. But the difference with the iPhone was that as the time progressed and we found solutions to these little things, we just kept feeling more and more and more free and more and more and more actually efficient and productive.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one of the big time differentiating factors between getting rid of my smartphone and getting rid of the internet is I actually enjoyed not having a smartphone from day one, from minute one. Mm-hmm. I felt better about life, about myself. And clearly there were some complications that would arise in my first week where I hadn't thought things through from a logistics standpoint. But even when I was facing those challenges, it just reminded me of how much I enjoyed my life not having a smartphone. And so it was like these little confirmation things. It wasn't the same when we got rid of the internet. I was feeling these challenges. I was like, this is really hard, but I wasn't feeling this liberation immediately like what I felt when I got rid of my smartphone.
Yeah, basically, we have this saying that we say a lot in our home, and that is we want to live a low drag, high impact life. And with our iPhones, when we got rid of them, we felt like we got rid of a lot of drag, and we were still able to maintain the high impact that we had. We actually have more high impact than we had with the phone, even though the phone was so efficient. When it came to the internet, it created a lot of drag in our home. It was very high drag, and the impact actually went the opposite direction.
Just me having to go find internet multiple times a day took up crazy time. And so we wanted to be able to be more present with our children. And this was another thing too, going back to the why, like why did we want to do this? Katie and I both, have dream boards. We have that list of 100 things we want to be, do, or have that we've talked about before. And when I was looking at that, I was like, wow, I want to read this set of books. I want to play more chess. I want to develop more, I want to shoot more like at the range. There's a bunch of things I want to do. And instead of doing these things, I'm getting on my computer every evening. So I wanted to replace that time with these other activities. And that is a very good thing to come to the realization of at various times in your life where you're like, okay, I say I want to do these things. What's keeping me from actually doing them? So that was helpful to identify that. But then as time went on, I was realizing more time was being used in my day by simply driving to internet and then getting home and realizing, oh, we didn't order groceries. Like, then you would take the car and be like, can I go order groceries?
Well, yeah. So like with the whole online business thing, your hours aren't like 9 to 5. And then when you're home, you're home. In terms of like, you need to check things that are going up the next day at like 9 at night sometimes. Sure. And so that was just kind of unhelpful. He was leaving the house all the time after the kids went to bed to go check things that had to be done. And it was like, yeah, that was frustrating.
It was. And I would just go to
like cons go.
I'd go to this coffee shop, right? This was actually a good thing, is that it was still pretty warm when we were doing this because it was September. And I would be able to park outside the coffee shop, get out of my car and just sit outside. But they would be closed. And so I was just mooching internet from this closest coffee shop to our house.
Yeah, but he buys a lot of coffee there too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had a clear conscience about it.
Yeah. So like going into some other the cons, Elisha mentioned, I wasn't able to get groceries. So we have the one car. Elisha takes the one car to work, so I don't have the car all day. So it's not like I could just pop the kids in the car and just start going and getting groceries in person. And we like that. We like that system because that's a low drag, high impact system for us. Yes. So the way I'd utilize the internet was I'd order my groceries and have them delivered. And that's a fantastic use of time. And all of a sudden it was like, okay, I need groceries for tomorrow. I'm going to need to go drive and get internet. And what we thought we were going to do, because we knew this was going to be an issue coming up, and we thought, I wrote down a list of all the things that I needed to do next time I got internet. But the problem is I thought, I'll just go down to the studio in the evenings on Sunday night, and once a week I will do all my internet stuff. I will batch it. And it sounded great in theory, but then Elisha didn't like me coming to the studio later at night, and I started to get uncomfortable just because of some of the people that we share.
Yeah, we're like, I don't know, we're like in a, I don't know what you call this, industrial complex area. Like there's a bunch of buildings around us. And after dark, I was like, man, I don't love the idea of Katie being down there by herself with some of the characters that are around. And so that was the main reason.
Yeah. So like in my brain, I was thinking I'd have this Sunday night session to just get everything done because I did still functionally need internet, but it ended up being I would have to get up really early and come, and then it was taking out my morning. So like my Bible time and my working out and stuff like that was just going out the window because I needed to go do these random petty tasks that would take me like 20 minutes at home. But instead I'm driving 20 minutes to do the task and then driving 20 minutes back. And then also I wasn't able to help Elisha with stuff. So like if a bill needed to be paid, I had to call him up and be like, hey, I need you to pay this bill. I couldn't just like do it real quick. Looking up directions, we rely on looking up directions in our home when we go somewhere.
Yes.
If we haven't been there before, so all of a sudden I have to call up Elisha at the studio, or it's just like a hassle, and these were hassles that weren't worth it, because sometimes making your life harder can make it way better, and we've experienced that over and over and over, and that's why we did this for as long as we did, because we were like, we need to push through that initial this is hard season
withdrawal,
and see if we can get some good systems set up, because it's always hard when you start. And then we're in the middle of a few big projects that aren't work related, that are requiring a lot of emailing and communication and stuff like that, a lot of research. And again, I wasn't able to help out on any of those fronts. So I kind of felt like, I don't know, a little useless in those areas to the whole family moving stuff forward.
Sure.
And more was just falling on your plate.
Yeah, and it's crazy because Katie is a huge asset to me oftentimes when she's at home, and I can call her up and ask her to look something up, because like I said, we don't have smartphones, and so oftentimes I'll be running errands and I can't find a certain item that we need, and so I'll call her and be like, hey, can you see if there's a store in town that has whatever I'm looking for?
Sometimes I feel really like secret agent-y when you call me from Southern California, when you go and you do your coaching down there. And he's like trying to navigate, like try to find this one restaurant or something, and he'll call me up and I have the directions on the map and tell him where to go.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. Okay. And then there were just some like quality of life cons. So things that we cut out of our lives because of the internet, but I actually genuinely enjoy, at least for me. I don't know what you're thinking of here, but I put my online workouts, I actually really enjoy those. It's way more efficient than going to the gym. Online Spanish classes, I really want to learn Spanish. Homeschool research, I learned so much. Like if my child is running into a block, I love to that afternoon be able to look up, something, and there's just a wealth of information online. New recipes, I'm calling Elisha to give me a sourdough recipe and screenshot it and bring it home. And then just ordering stuff online, booking appointments, especially after the baby. We had a lot of stuff like dental. I had to go to a gynecologist. We had stuff with orthodontist, stuff. Yep. Looking up health insurance. Like you guys know, I don't have to tell you the internet is a helpful tool. So maybe I sound crazy, but like I was confident in the beginning that this was still going to get better because the smartphone thing has been such a win.
Yes, it didn't get that way.
It didn't. It just kept getting harder and harder.
We only made it 5 weeks, so maybe at week 6 we would have had a huge breakthrough. Who knows? We'll never know because I don't think we're ever going to proactively go back to this way of living. But like Katie said, this actually helped us really identify the resources online that we do value and that we find a lot of benefit from. And I think we'll actually do a whole separate video on our favorite online resources because I know many of you have asked for that. And Katie and I, like what she already said, after doing this week or this month of no internet, we both really identified the things we really want to use online. And so I think it did, the huge benefit that we gained from taking this month off was we do waste far less time now online because we know exactly why we have the internet. And so I think it was a really good purge. It was a really good detox. And now when we open our computers, we're not just wasting time or wandering around browsing various websites. It's like, I know what I want to listen to, or I know who I want to watch and find inspiration from or education from. So that was extremely helpful.
Yeah. So like going into the benefits of it all, I don't like when people say as their titles, like, I did this so you don't have to, because I think often like, we canceled the internet for 5 weeks or whatever, so you don't have to. Because I think that a lot can be gained by going through experiments like this in your own home. Because
who says that? That's like
because you learn in it like what's really hard for you to say no to. Like some things are like, wow, I was really attached to that and I'm like missing it and I didn't think it was a big deal. It's just a really healthy thing to do. So overall, it was an amazing, clear break, and that a lot of the bad patterns we had formed, which were sitting down, getting on our computers, not having any other interests, that were like physically demanding on us in a healthy way. We got a clear break from that, and we had some time to develop some other interests. So some things that I took away from that time that I'm currently still doing are playing chess. We got into playing chess as a family, and then Elisha and I would play chess in the evenings instead of watching something, and that has been really awesome for us.
Oh yeah.
We've loved that. Another thing was taking as many of my resources offline as possible that I'm accessing daily. So like my recipes, I have the ones that I go to often now in a binder, and a lot of my just in my external brain. I have an external brain notebook that is physical, where my external brain before used to be all digital. I still use the digital version, but I realized, okay, I'm getting a lot more distracted on this, and now I have my physical version. I printed out a lot of stuff. The other thing was I have a lot of physical reference books now. So like for playing chess, we have a physical reference book, so we aren't getting distracted to look up stuff with chess. For knitting, with the kids knitting, I have a physical reference book with knitting. And those things are really helpful. Just even having like a physical thesaurus, physical dictionary, I ordered those things. And so we can look stuff up in a physical way now if the kids have questions and not always be going online. And then one other thing that has been really fun was I developed 2 pen pals during that time, and I was offline, and I am keeping them up, and it's been very special for me. One's a sister that lives far away, and another one's a good friend. And it's just been really fun I'm carrying that with me, even though we have the internet on.
Yeah, like she said, we were able to identify some things we do enjoy. We've continued the chess thing, especially on Sabbath nights where we turn the internet off. Speaking of Sabbath, I think that taking the month off made us realize we need to be vigilant in having that weekly break from the internet. Mm-hmm. I think one of the reasons we are feeling internet fatigue and starting to feel like hypocrites with our kids is because during the postpartum seasons, our 24-hour rest period was starting to become hit or miss. We weren't getting it on a consistent basis. And so in having this month away, we realized, man, if we just have a 24-hour,
Yeah, detox.
Detox, yeah.
Free from the
Unplug
internet.
every week. That resets us and kind of helps us find our equilibrium on a regular basis. It doesn't have to be as extreme. That's really helpful. It's restful. And then it helps you prioritize what you actually want to do on the internet. So it reinforced the necessity and the benefit of our 24-hour rest period. And then like Katie said, it just reinforced some things that we knew we wanted to do. I wanted to play more music. We both wanted to read more. We love reading. And like Katie said, being able to have some of these physical reference books or whatever notes that you've taken is really helpful, because there still is always the propensity to get distracted anytime you get on the internet. So like Katie said, we might have opened up the computer to look for a particular chess rule or find an opening that you wanted to try that day, and you just get distracted. You see notifications, you see headlines, you see other articles, and like 30 minutes later, you start wondering what you got on to look up. It doesn't happen as much when you just pull out the book and we're able to look through the reference book. So that has been very helpful.
Yeah, a couple other things were, it was so freeing, and this was a huge benefit. Oh, I didn't even say any of the benefits, I guess. But anyways, one of the things that was a huge benefit was having nothing playing during the day. Like, I will turn on a YouTube video or a podcast if I'm folding laundry in the evening, if I have an extra bit of laundry to do after the kids go to bed. Elisha knows I more often than not have more than an extra bit of laundry to do after. But yeah, that's a helpful motivator to me to turn something on and watch it. And I enjoy that. But just not listening to podcasts and YouTube videos during the day. I had a clean break from that habit when we did this, and I haven't gotten back into it because I just don't crave it anymore. I really enjoy just doing the cooking, doing the dishes, and really laundry is the only task that I'll turn that on for. And so that's been a big blessing in our home, because I was able to kind of free myself from that habit that wasn't serving me in this stage of having 5 little kids. It might in another stage. And then something else that I was going to say that was helpful. Oh, we were just able to get real clarity on what we want for the next 90 days, who we want to be. And we had that going into the postpartum season. Like, we weren't on our computers every single night going into having a baby. We were reading consistently every single night in bed. And that was our MO. Or we were just reading and then going to sleep at 8:30 because we were getting up early the next morning. And that was our flow. And so we were able to get clarity on what our goals are and start back into that flow. We're like, for the last, 3 or 4 weeks, we've been going to bed early, reading. Unless it's a date night, we don't watch a movie. And then we get up in the morning and get up early at 5. So that just, having that clarity and that vision really eliminated the just late night veg fest on YouTube.
And again, this happens in the postpartum season because you're trying to figure out nursing schedules.
Yeah, you're going to bed late and waking up late.
And so we were well aware of that when we were doing this. We were both like, this might just be one of these postpartum things. And there was some of that, but I think there were things that were just lessons for any season of life that we were in that we're really grateful for.
Yeah, essentially it allowed us, it was kind of rough. It was this cold turkey break, but we were able to shed the old habits quickly. And sometimes cold turkey breaks are helpful to just purge and then start fresh. And yeah, you could work your way out of a season, and we would have done that over time because we know that that's who we are and what we ideally want out of life. But this was a very refreshing way to do it, just kind of like a polar plunge.
Yeah, it really was. It was kind of a polar plunge, and it's like, wow, we don't want to, live in the cold water like this, but it was refreshing, and it kind of gave us a new zeal for life and a new perspective.
And now, like when the kids go to bed, we aren't jumping on our computers. They see us playing game together. They see us visiting. They see us planning for the next day. They see us reading. Every once in a while, yes, we're still getting on YouTube, check a few things before we go to bed, which is fun. Some of our favorite online resources, which we will share with you guys. But that is not our every single night of the week MO. And I feel like we're just a lot more authentic to who we want to be now. How we want to present to our children what we value, because how we're spending our time is communicating what we value, not what we tell them to do. And we realize that we were at odds there.
That's right.
Okay.
Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you give this a shot. Try going internet free. We want to hear about your experience. This is not one of those we did this, you don't have to. I think everybody should give this a shot. Try it in your home. See what happens. Talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey you guys, I just wanted to tell you real quick about my homeschooling course, Homeschooling the First 3 Years. It's all about laying a foundation of joy and confidence and fun and simplified homeschool in your home. So if you're in a place where maybe you're considering homeschooling your kiddos in the next few years, then this course is for you. It's going to break down not only what we do for homeschool in our family and what we've done for the first 3 years in homeschool, but it's also going to show you exactly how that looks. So I'm going to take a camera around with me vlog style and show you how does it look to homeschool with a baby? How does it look to homeschool with a toddler? How does it look to homeschool multiple grades at one time? How do you navigate different learning tendencies? How do you navigate your learning style as a teacher? And how do you motivate children and get them to love learning? I love homeschooling my kids. One of my favorite things that I get to do with them each day, and it's something that I want you to love doing with your children as well. So if you look down in the description box, you will be able to find a discount code where you can get a discount off of Homeschool the First 3 Years, and I really hope that it blesses your home.